Thanks for joining me, everybody. So can Republican Senatorial nominee in Massachusetts, Geoff Diehl, win against Elizabeth Warren in what would be described as the upset of the century, frankly? The short answer is yes, he can. I've been driving around Greater Boston all day yesterday doing my rounds, and I'm seeing Geoff Diehl's lawn signs pop up everywhere, both north and south of Boston. I don't know if that's a sign, but I find it to be a good sign. And I think that, however, I don't know a lot about Geoff Diehl other than listening to him appear on Howie Carr's show on WRKO and Jeff Cooner on WRKO. And he certainly has the issues in his pocket. He could run on those issues and, by conventional definition, beat Elizabeth Warren easily. She's already given an interview where she's called for a 50% tax increase. Nobody in this state wants that, including the most liberal left-winger. It's not exactly sound thinking. And she's a lot of her positions. I mean, she boycotted Benjamin Netanyahu's speech before Congress. So I mean that might cause her to bring her into question among some Jewish voters in this state. Not a lot of people, and Jews are probably not going to vote for Geoff Diehl. But even if he could peel off a small percentage, that could be enough. But the problem I see with Geoff Diehl, and this is a casual observation on my part, is that he's too nice. And that he's not going to take the gloves off and do what's necessary to beat Elizabeth Warren. Now, either Geoff Diehl, and he seems to me to be a person that is just conditionally nice, and that's a problem in this business because Elizabeth Warren is one of the meanest, most vicious, most hard-hitting, ugliest public figures, and prides herself on that. If you listen to her language going after Donald Trump, whether you hate or like Trump is beside the point. It's so utterly below the belt and nasty and so egregiously so that there are very few people right now in public life who are doing this. But of course, the left hails that as courageous and they put big pictures of her face close up on the front of magazines. But I think that Geoff Diehl, being a nice guy, he can't win just going on the issues. He is going to have to be mean also. He's going to have to take the gloves off, and he's going to have to go after her with both fists and do so fearlessly. So the question is whether or not Geoff Diehl is just another careerist, another self-interested hack who wants to play the game and do pretty well, but not really make too many waves in politics and, do respectably in the election, but lose. And then in the future, maybe become the next Charlie Baker, the next liberal governor or get some appointment. Or whether he really is sincere about winning and about doing what's best for this country. And frankly, doing what's best for the Democratic Party, I may point out, because Elizabeth Warren's running for president, and she's going to be an absolute disaster for the Democratic Party. She's worse than Dukakis. And so that's what it comes down to. And I think that Geoff Diehl has to take the gloves off and go after her with both fists. He has to bring up the fact that she has been a fraud. The Boston Globe just did this phony article trying to exonerate her for, posing as a Native American in order to advance her career and her power, both at the University of Pennsylvania and at Harvard. They interviewed 30 people, most of whom they didn't name, maybe one or two were named, who came out and said, no, we never thought of Elizabeth Warren as Native American. We don't think that Elizabeth Warren did that to get into Harvard. Of course, what they didn't do was ask Harvard and ask Elizabeth Warren to release the manuscript that would show whether or not she actually checked the box for a minority. They didn't ask for that because, she has a right not to show that. We ought to demand that. Geoff Diehl should run an ad in the Globe every day saying day number 50, day number 30, release the manuscript, release the manuscript. Let's find out what she did. She should take the 23andMe test. She probably already has and knows that she has no Indian background. But she's the one that made these claims to get ahead, allegedly. Fine. Let us show otherwise. Let her release the manuscript and we'll straighten it out. Elizabeth Warren was one of the biggest frauds to come down the pike in a long time, even for liberals. And I think that if Diehl swings at her, if he shows that as a lawyer she made millions of dollars from big multinational corporations, including Dow Chemical, a chemical company, trying to screw women who had breast implants. Elizabeth Warren comes along as their lawyer and she fixes the problem, makes sure they're protected from lawsuits. Women are crying out from the grave probably for justice on that. And this is the woman's champion. He should bring that up next time she makes the accusation that he's got something against women. Really? There are so many things that she could be hit with. Just an incredible liar and an incredible phony. He needs to list those things and he needs to stand up and hammer them because he's up against a huge left-wing establishment in Massachusetts and nationally that will not let her lose. Clearly the Globe doing this mendacious article proves that right away. They're trying to inoculate her going in. And the only way to take her on is to do, as I say, take off the gloves. This is not a nice guy time. Go after her with both fists. It may be damaging to you personally. It may hurt your chances if you do lose to get anywhere in the state. You'll be vilified. You'll be attacked. But you'll be doing the right thing. You'll be a great patriot. That's what elections are all about. Politics isn't beanbag. You have to take the gloves off. You have to do the right thing and go after her with everything you have and let the chips fall where they fall. I think you could win. I think Geoff Diehl could win if he does that. It doesn't seem to be a part of his temperament, but he's in the big leagues now. He's the senatorial nominee. He needs to do that, not only to beat Elizabeth Warren, but to highlight a campaign nationally against a phony. And then he'll get a chance to talk about the issues which she's going to lose on. He needs to take a chapter out of the Donald Trump playbook, frankly. She's going to try to say, oh, you're like Donald Trump. He should say, fine, yes, I am. Donald Trump speaks plainly. I don't necessarily agree with all of his policies, and I'll certainly stand up to him when he's not right. But I agree with the fact that he's taking his office seriously. And by the way, if you want to understand the Trump administration, all you need to do is look at the Republican platform for 2016. President Trump is following it to the T in every agency. And that's very different than previous administrations, both Democrat and Republican, who largely ignored the party platform. So he needs to stand up for Trump. He needs to stand up for himself, and he needs to hit her hard. I don't want to go too far into this, but I learned this myself in my own run for Congress back in 2004 when I ran against Barney Frank. At that time, in the course of that campaign, somebody delivered to me a dossier on Barney Frank, right? This is news clippings and inside articles and investigations and all this stuff. And it was really dynamite. It was vile. It was just some of the things he'd been involved in are really bad. And he said to me, I want you to use this. Well, I decided not to use it because I knew, frankly, that it would hurt me more than him. He would get elected if he had shot someone on the street. I wasn't going to beat Barney Frank because Barney Frank is a cult figure, just like the Kennedys. And I knew that would come back to haunt me, as it is. The campaign damaged me in many ways. I don't want to get into that. But the fact of the matter is that Elizabeth Warren is no Barney Frank. Elizabeth Warren is not the Kennedys. She doesn't have that kind of cult following in this state. You may be surprised. People are not thrilled with her. They don't like her. She's not likable. And Diehl is right to point out that she's done nothing for the state. All she's done from the minute she stepped into the Senate, she set up a PAC, and she started raising money for other Democrats, and she started to publish books and make herself richer than she already is. And she's very rich, by the way. She got, for years, she was getting $375,000 to teach one class at Harvard, and her husband was getting another 375 G's to also teach one class. And they got a free house on top of it. Now, would somebody please explain to me what she did for Harvard that got her that kind of an incredible deal? I mean, that's a legitimate political question, by the way, because the answer to that might reveal a lot about the rot and the corruption, not only of her and her vicious ilk, but some of these really stinking, big top 1% Democrat liberals and how they operate and this almost alternative universe that they live in. So Geoff Diehl, I hope you do the right thing. I hope you take the gloves off. I hope you hit her with everything you have. And don't worry about the media. They're going to hate you anyway. They're going to take you down. You don't have any friends in Massachusetts when it comes to the media. It hasn't stopped Trump, right? I mean, if you listen to MSNBC, it's almost like Pravda attacking, the bourgeois enemy. It is so vicious and so hateful. And yet Trump continues to go on in spite of what I would argue is a virtual attempted coup d'etat against him and against his followers, and which may very well turn out to be a coup d'etat, hopefully, God willing, not. He continues to forge forward every day, doing his job, implementing his agenda, not only of making America great, but of exposing the deep state and sweeping out all the corrupt swamp that has been building up in our federal government for the past many, many decades. Diehl needs to get on board with that. Let the chips fall where they may. Go after her. This is a real campaign. This is real life. This isn't a time for you to audition to become the next Republican mugwump. Do the right thing. Take her on and beat her. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody.